Good.
Hi everyone, we are back. It's time to go over your questions from February in the March Q&A episode of the Top Drive Show. I'm Josie, I'm an analyst at Hutch.
I'm Tim, I'm in charge of analytics and marketing at Hutch.
And I'm Jonathan, and I'm design director at Hutch.
We've been through your questions from the previous episode. You should know the rules by now. In the comment section of this video, go ahead and leave your questions for next time. If you see a question that someone else has left you like the look of, give it a like, because we look at the most liked comments first. And our first question for this episode, getting a carbon fiber pack, has a familiar name, Casual Mobile Gaming, well done. With the question, what about a real-time live mode where people are under pressure by the clock? Or let's go further and say that two opponents meet and they see 3 out of 5 cars from their opponent before the match starts. They need to make a bet based on this. I remember there's a poker variation which includes showing a few of your own cards, but not all. So maybe people try and evaluate your hand. Something like this could be interesting and actually maybe open up Top Drives as a real esport. So sort of these other variations on Top Drives to up the stakes, make it more interesting from match to match. Yeah. What do we think?
So I just absolutely love the thinking behind this. It's just really exciting. Like just that idea of kind of the fact that kind of it could expand the world in a kind of really interesting way. It's very different to the current game, so it feels like it's something in that space could sit alongside it really comfortably and offer a very different playing experience for people. And it does, you know, if you take that as a kind of very high concept, that idea of kind of live, you know, multiplayer online poker for car enthusiasts is just you know, in terms of if we were in the company, if we're looking at kind of when we talk about high concept, it's almost like the first stage to any new game. It's just like what's the big vision, and it's just like, you know, if you write that out on a kind of board somewhere or kind of in a presentation, it's hugely appealing. So definitely, yeah, massive sort of respect for the question. In terms of the reality,
Just jam it in Top Drives in a few weeks.
I don't know. I never know exactly how much information. I don't know. I feel like in the kind of next few months, kind of, or maybe even kind of this year, I feel like there's going to be lots of discussions around. You know, Top Drives has exceeded all our expectations. It's you know, it's amazing. We love it. We want it to be a permanent fixture in the world and keep growing and keep evolving. And I think over the next few months, I think there's going to be a sort of lot of discussions going on sort of around that and kind of what it means and sort of how it moves forward in the next few years. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, absolutely nothing anytime soon, but it's a really strong idea, and I think it needs to form part of those sort of discussions.
Because I remember talking about this poker thing. I guess it must have been before Top Drives came out. We were talking about the idea of car cards and how it would work, and I was thinking about, like, you get to see 3 of the tracks and you don't see the others, and then you make your bets and then you find out, oh, it's a drag race. Yeah. Oh, that's what I was expecting. Or maybe it's their cars. I don't know. There are all these ways of doing it. The real-time bit as well is interesting. There's this one moment that occurs in Top Drives, which is right at the end of an event. And I've had this a few times. You're on the border of the price tier you want to be on. And it's down to the last race. And if you win it, you're there. And if you lose it, you're out. Probably, unless other people race against you. And what happens is I see how much time is left in the event, like 40 seconds. And then you go into the event and you have to keep that countdown in your head, like 39, 38, 37, where you're looking at who can I beat? 35, 34, that guy probably, 32, 31, 30, and you're like, and you've got to solve it in real time.
Yeah. So there's that little bit of tension that the question describes.
Exactly, it's really interesting, but it's so rare.
Yeah. And it's like you say as well. I mean, in some way that idea of kind of the sort of kind of risk reward idea of sort of real time gaming. Yeah. I mean, the sort of the car world lends itself to that. I love the idea that there's having something in with a little bit of an unknown. Yeah. So do you risk it all and put like a drag specialist down? Or
because it open up the possibilities for our all-rounders, which are currently unloved.
Yes. Yep.
Like maybe they're the safe bets in this mode.
Yeah, totally.
Lots of interesting ideas. Good. Anyway, thanks.
So yes, great question.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, CMG. You get a carbon fiber pack. Also getting one is Crosea with the question, whatever happened to the create your own event?
What?
There's more.
Yeah.
I know that many a player put in a good amount of time to create some interesting events, and I'm still coming up with more. Bonus question as well, what goes into designing a challenge or event for us?
Right, okay.
So, an
Well, do you know
events
what happened to
question.
that?
No.
Was it,
So I feel like I should.
went quiet.
I feel like I
And
should
then
know.
Katie was going to look into it, and then I don't know what happened.
Okay.
You should probably find out what happened.
It's possibly that it's
And
just
then
at
maybe
that
record
point
this
of
bit
kind of
again.
it's going to suddenly surface soon.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Don't know on that one. All right, what goes into coming up with a event or challenge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
well,
I
you're,
mean, what-
you're
yeah, I mean,
most experienced. at
I mean, I
challenges
like the
and stuff.
challenges. Events is like an interesting one in Top Drives because you'll notice we've had almost no repeats. If you're lower in the game at the beginning RQ, we have a sort of slow rotation of the greatest hits for those early players. But at the end game, there's no repeats. So how do you do that? And so you just have to sort of have some kind of idea for like, oh, this sort of bit of the garage. We haven't looked at this for a little bit. What sort of cars are they? Oh no, we did a wet one for them. Let's do a dry one now, and then just shape it up. Have a look at the cars that people probably have, and try to come up with some kind of track set that makes sense. I've not done a lot of that, but
No, but I think, like you say, that's a kind of I mean, there's almost like it's constantly rolling that that process, and like you say, it's very much about looking at people's car collections and the cars that are going into the game and the kind of the whole suite of what's available, and really just sort of looking at kind of interesting. It's okay. It's not the same as kind of somebody doing a car program or kind of YouTube channel, but it's sort of similar in that you're looking at the kind of the breadth of cars available and kind of what's an interesting way to make people kind of play with them and put them together in different combinations.
And then a similar logic applies in the challenges, but you have to balance it a little bit more carefully to say, because rather than player versus player, and they'll just decide who's the best, it's like, okay, roughly how many people should be able to beat this?
Yeah.
That's another question to try and figure out roughly how good people's cars are. And there's also a thing like, so the Austin Challenge Series and the seasons, now we're into the Type 2 ones, they are generally a little bit trickier and a bit more interesting because a lot more time goes into them. There's just this, the more time you put into it, the more interesting you can make it. The more like each round you've got to change your hand up a little bit. And this one you can do it, even though they DNF on that one and you make up for it, or coming up with all these different ways it could be.
Yeah.
It all makes it interesting. It's just a lot of time figuring it out and iterating it.
Yeah,
we do have a secret button in debug, which is just like, what's just the best way to play these 5 cards? Just what's the best order? That's the best order. Right, good. And that just speeds that up a little bit. That button did exist secretly in game if you pressed it in the right place really fast. Players once found,
yes,
but we got rid of that. So you had to figure it out yourself. But it is amazing to me, even after playing this game for 2.5 years, there are still situations where I'm like, oh, I'll do it like that. What's the best order? No, it's that.
No, it's good. That's great.
There's always little optimizations to be made. So
part of the strength, part of the appeal.
Exactly, that's what it's all about.
Okay, thank you, Crosea. The next question comes from Brannon Ray, who asks, I noticed some epics that people already had went up to legendary in the previous update. But for the fairness for the players, could those cars only go up in RQ instead of rarity?
Right, yeah.
There are already RQ 27 to 30 epics, so making the past 28 cars higher RQ epics would be fair. I say this because some people had the luxury of pulling one of those 8 cars while some haven't got it yet. Now, while they spent 15 ultras, as unlucky ones have to spend 15 epics.
Yeah.
That way everyone will have an equal opportunity to max it.
Yeah. So what the changing rarity thing, it's always a big deal.
Yeah.
It's happened when we rebalance the RQs or make corrections and things move around. And there was a thing way back in the beginning of Top Tries where there was the Audis and we were like, all right, they're up here, but they're not really, they don't look like legendary cars like these other ones, so maybe they should just be epics, but there's a higher RQ on them. And then after the game was out for a long time, we were like, oh, that's a bit weird and confusing.
Yeah,
maybe let's not do that
I
again.
have to take responsibility for that because there was I think it was one particular. I think it was actually kind of an Audi RS Q3, and it's just like great car, really fast, but it just didn't look right sitting alongside the Paganis and your McLarens.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't. Yes, it's one of those decisions that then confuses things down the road.
That's right. And then there's been one big exception since then, the Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 1LE that was a prize car and then got a big correction went up to RQ28, and we were like, oh man, a bunch of people have upgraded it, and it's a prize car, and it's not going to come again. So, and until ages, and then we were like, okay, that better stay epic then. So that's an epic RQ28. That's one of these outliers that we have.
Yeah.
And then, the same question comes up whenever we make another correction or change things. And it also, in my head, aligns with that problem of RQ27 legendaries and RQ23 epics, where they're just not as good as the rest, but they're as expensive to upgrade. So they tend to go a little bit, unloved. And I feel like it's the same problem, because often the ones who go up rarity just go up to that band. Now, one idea we've been discussing recently is maybe on some very large rotation, each update or something, a few RQ27 and RQ23 cars don't change RQ, but they do change rarity. So everybody who's got them has got a chance to upgrade them cheap. And then the next update, they go back to what they should be, and different ones come in. So, if you missed your chance because you didn't have it, or you didn't have the materials to upgrade it on a car that changed, maybe someday, that time will come around again. It's a big question. We've got to get through this big RQ rescaling thing first, because that's going to completely change how we feel about it.
That will obviously have an impact on this as well. And I guess the thing is, overall, is we try and keep these outliers to a minimum.
Yeah.
In a way, we don't want to do
That's right.
any more of it, because it does cause confusion, cause complications down the line. So it's a tricky area.
Yeah, that's right. Always thinking about it.
Yep, definitely. Okay. The next question comes from Tillman Protzner, who asks, as I love cars, I got a car-related question. Nice. Oh. I would like to ask for new engine sounds. Would that be hard to implement? As an example, the sound of shifting through different gears. Right now, all the cars sound like they only have one gear. Maybe secretly they're all Koenigsegg-Legeras. I think that some graphics improvements, which would also be nice, are much harder to do than sound changes, but my knowledge about these things is close to zero. So a little bit of a audio-visual upgrade is the order of the day on this question.
Yeah, I would. Actually, sorry, slight tangent, but actually, kind of in the early days of Hutch, we had we deal with different people, kind of on the audio side, and some sort of specialists in car audio in games, and somebody came in with their sort of absolute deluxe kind of in-game car audio engine that was incredibly sophisticated and sort of too heavy at the time, kind of performance-wise for us to put in, but just sounded unbelievable. Like, honestly, it was sort of, I sat with my back to it at some point, and through a good set of speakers, it just honestly sounded like there was a V8 Mustang sitting behind me revving.
What was it? You'd put in how fast you were going and what?
Yeah, you could. I mean, yes, he just had full controls, as in he could really sort of rev it very naturally and then accelerate up through the gears, and it does, and it adds a huge amount, and obviously sort of, a big part of the appeal of either watching a drag race or being in the cars is hearing it sort of go, a particular engine going through the revs. I'm trying to think of what the kind of the sort of nice, succinct answer to this is. I mean, really, in a way, as everybody knows, we've got 1,900 cars in the game now. We had to minimize things on the kind of the models, so I think there's about 14 model types, something like that. There's always a conversation going on about the visual fidelity, and kind of going hand in hand with that is the audio side to it.
Yeah, I mean, fewer people have audio switched on their phones.
Yes.
So that tends to make it lower priority.
Yeah, and that's just so that does make it a big, in terms of kind of getting it high enough up the list that it makes sense to do. Because the one thing as well, as soon as we start doing it, the kind of the amount of different car audio that to do it sort of properly is not insignificant in terms of the size of the app on your device and just performance and things like that. So it has a number of kind of non-trivial overheads. Yeah. And like you were saying, given the fact that kind of quite a high percentage of people don't use the audio, it does make it sort of hard forever to kind of emerge out the top of the priority list. But it doesn't go away as a conversation or as a thing that we would like, and completely get it. It would be great to have better car sounds in there.
I think the graphics has more of a chance, and I've seen some discussion about that. It's like, could we do that a bit better? Because it's this very simplified, sort of deliberately so, sort of abstract thing. It's like there's a simulation. It's not like you're driving through the woods. But like, oh, maybe it could look better. Maybe the cars could look more like cars. Maybe.
Yeah.
Because everybody sees them.
Yes.
There's maybe more of a case for that. Yeah.
Okay. Before we do the last question, I have an honourable mention because people were really enjoying the fact that John was temporarily out of sync.
That was pretty weird.
With the rest of the universe.
Yes.
And so we got a comment from Blossom that just says, I think my favourite part of the episode was when John said yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So when you just sat there and said
was
yes,
good.
that was the best bit for Blossom. So I wanted to.
It was definitely it's quite an unusual. I came running upstairs thinking that I might just catch filming just in time, and
We'd all
You'd
gone.
already finished.
You'd already gone.
Yeah.
I know.
So you had to do time travel.
But it was some high concept science fiction
Yeah.
instead, which
Yeah.
I think it worked out very well. So props to our editor for that. But the last carbon fibre question comes from With Cars, who asks, can we have similar filters from my cars to all cars?
Oh, yeah.
So it's easy to see cars that you don't have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, you just should. You should.
Yeah.
Or when there's a pack and you're like, oh, 90s Italian. You shouldn't have to
No,
rummage
I know,
around
I know.
and find them, or go to topdrives.club, which is great and you can do it there, but it kind of should be in the game.
Yep.
So we agree with that, and that is fairly high on the list, I would say.
Cool.
There you go.
Going to do something a little bit different this time around. We're going to flip it over and we're going to ask you a question. So make sure to leave your answers to this question in the comment section below, as well as your regular questions. What are we going to ask the community today, John?
Well, so yeah, I think we'll just always want to try new things. We'll see how this goes. I think sometimes it'll be about real world car stuff. Sometimes maybe about Top Drive specific stuff. I was going to ask if anyone had ever driven a Twizy F1, but I think the numbers of that might be so small that I'm not sure we'd get a response.
Okay,
But yeah, so the question is, has anyone been for a test drive in anything interesting this year? And
Well,
if
this year,
so-
2020.
Yep, 2020. And if so, what did you think of it?
Yep, so go ahead and leave your answers to our question in the comment section below. Do us a favour and leave them separate to your questions to us, just so we can sort them easier. But yeah, we'll read some of our favourites next time. But yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah, we'll give it a shot and try out some different questions.
And if you have driven a Twizy F1, let us know as well. By any chance. Love to know.
Well, those are all of the questions. So thank you very much to Casual Mobile Gaming, Crosea, Brannon Ray, Tillman Protzner, and With Cars, and the bonus question from Blossom. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel while you're here. Go ahead and follow us on the social medias above my head, and leave your comments in the comment section below. I suppose we'll see you next time for the Top Drive Show.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye!